please take your seat. May I start the next session? My name is Miyake, and I'm an associate professor of the Tokyo Institute of Technology. And it is the honor for me to do the chairman of this session. And today we have a talk from Professor Kuniaki Otsuka. And Professor Otsuka is a professor of the Tokyo Women's Medical University. And today's topic is biological clock and its clinical use. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Miyake. First, I sincerely appreciate very kind invitation to me. Dr. Munase, thank you very much. Today's my topic is biological clock and its clinical use. Today's my topics are these four. The first one of them in recent progress in chronobiology. Most functions of life, including autonomic nervous, endocrine, and immune systems, are not homeostatic, but show circadian fluctuations to coordinate with the natural 24-hourly light-dark cycle. This slide shows circadian rhythm of melatonin and cortisol in saliva. More than 10 days ambulatory blood pressure monitoring disclosed variation of blood pressure and heart rate also shows circadian rhythm, as shown. The left side is the time series data, and right side shows maximum entropy method power spectrum, which shows around 24-hour and around 12-hour periodicity. Onset of the disease also shows circadian rhythm, and as shown here, myocardial infarction is frequent in the morning. Chronobiology as a science in its own right was proposed in 1950 by Franz Halber, who found a genetic basis for 24-hour variation in counts of circulating eosinophil cells in 5 different strains of inbred mice, and officially introduced this term and circadian to a nomenclature committee in Stockholm for the first time in 1955, but first published circadian in 1959, as shown in this paper. I met him in 1988. This slide shows together with him at his home. We were young. Most organisms from cyanobacteria to mammals are known to use circadian mechanisms to coordinate their activities with the natural 24-hourly light-dark cycle and are interacting socio-ecological schedules. This slide shows a rat brain. The central circadian clock exists suprachiasmatic nuclei, SCN, of the hypothalamus in mammals. Mammalian circadian clockwork model is shown here. 24-hour, about 24 circadian rhythm is from negative transcription feedback loops, as shown here. When the human clock gene was disclosed and mapped to chromosome in 1997, it was surprising to see that the clock gene was very similar in all earthly life. This slide shows core loop of 6 clock genes, PAR1, PAR2, CRY1, CRY2, and BMR1 and clock. And in recent years, this core loop is stabilizing by the stabilizing loop. Recent several papers showed clock gene mutant animals develop metabolic syndrome along with growing up. As shown in this paper, metabolic parameters in wild type and clock mutant mice is shown here, and in animals with clock gene mutant animals, triglyceride, cholesterol, and glucose increase along with growing. This slide shows hierarchy system of clockwork in human. Not only central clock in the suprachiasmatic nuclei, but also there are many peripheral clocks, liver, kidney, heart, battery, and thousands of billions biological clocks are working, and central clock is coordinating with peripheral clocks. Recently, common disease such as hypertension, hyperlipidemia, microinfarction, atherosclerosis is clock-related. Thus, it is now discussing how circadian function is associated with not only quality of life, but also with morbidity, mortality, and longevity. Next topic is chronomics. Life has biological rhythm, not only photic, but also non-photic rhythms. Circadian rhythm, circadian rhythm, that is 12-hour rhythm, seasonal rhythm is visible photic rhythm. On the other hand, weekly rhythm and trans-year and cis-year rhythm, these rhythms will be presented the day after tomorrow by Franz Halbach, are non-photic rhythms. This slide was shown by Zeipes in Circulation 1999. It showed the episode of cardiovascular outcomes, namely the episode of myocardial infarction was frequent in California in the morning, Monday, the first week of the month, and winter. So this is a good picture. So anyway, what is chronomes and what is chronomics? I'd like to introduce. Chronomes are time structures consisting of multi-frequency rhythms covering frequencies over 10 orders of magnitude, elements of chaos, trends in chaotic and rhythmic endpoints, and the other as yet unresolved variabilities. Chronomics is a term against genomics or proteomics, and it can disclose covered signals on the original time series data, which is not visible without resolving by chronomics. By chronomics, we can find out that covered rhythmicity or chaotic or trend signals. Chronomics maps, rather than merely standardizing writing, the availability of food and daily routines in studies on behavior in time in the proximal habitat niche. Chronomics can map the dynamics of organisms' interactions with the environment near and far broadly. As shown here right side slide, maybe this slide also be presented by Professor Franz Halbach the day after tomorrow. As an example, I have introduced chronomics for heart rate variability. Chronomics that use time structures of heart rate variability include 3 second, 10 second, 5 minutes, 3 hour, and circadian, and weekly, and trend of age. An example of heart rate variability of a healthy young is shown here. This spectrum shows HF component, which means about 3 second periodicity, LF components, 10 second periodicity, and very low frequency component, we call it around 5 minutes periodicity, and ultra low frequency components, we call it, from the cardiological science, it means around hours rhythmicities. Circadian profile of parasympathetic, that is, this spectrum shows the parasympathetic tone cardiac activity, and this LF component, 10 second periodicity, shows sympathetic activity of artery. So, circadian profile of parasympathetic and the sympathetic activity estimated by the 24-hour heart rate analysis shows here. Sympathetic is increased during daytime, and parasympathetic increased during the night time. Circadian periodicity of heart rate we can easily find out 24-hour and 12-hour and 8-hour periodicities in this circadian heart rate trend plan. Decreasing parasympathetic activity, which means the 3 second component, high frequency component means 3 second component, decrease with aging as shown here, 5 years of age, 25 years of age, and 45 years of age. We can't find out definitely. So parasympathetic activity of heart decrease with age. However, decreasing this parasympathetic activity with aging is different between the gender. Slope of the PT line is larger in men compared to women. An example of tree rings chronomics I have introduced. As an aspect of chronomics, assessing broad time structures in physiological and physical environmental variables and their interactions, the fractal nature of tree rings here determined. Fractal is one of the characteristics of chaos of complexity. In this investigation, we examine the chrono-geocomplexity by analyzing the fractality of tree rings growth. The concept of fractal is most often associated with irregular geometric objects that display self-similarities. Fractal forms are composed of subunits and sub-subunits and so on that resemble the structure of the overall object. In an ideal model, this property holds on all scales. The real world, however, necessarily imposes upper and lower bounds over which such scale invariant behavior lies. Many non-Euclidean structures in nature, such as branching trees and so on, are fractal. A number of complex anatomic structures also display fractal-like geometry. Application of fractal analysis may provide new approaches to assessing risk of the living and forecasting sudden deaths in animals, including the human, elucidating the fractal nature involved in physiological control and the complex signaling networks is emerging as a major challenge in the post-genomic area. For the analysis, the average measurements of studies on 11 sequoia trees were taken from reference. In this investigation, we analyzed the fractal nature of the time series of trailing waves. Our spectrum of the time series of 2,175 years of them was analyzed by the maximum entropy method. It seems of interest to look for a proxy marker of solar activity in trailing waves that cover the past 2,000 years or more. A robust line fitting algorithm of low power on low frequency was then applied to the power spectrum 10-4 and 0.5 cycle per year, and the slope beta of this line was calculated. This frequency band was chosen on the basis of the observation regarding the linear relationship between slope power and log frequency in the frequency band. As shown in the bottom of this figure, the upper figure shows the time series of trailing waves for over 2,000 years. As shown in the bottom of this figure, the slope beta of the line was minus 1.02. It has been known that the slope beta around minus 1 means fractal nature, which reflects such system is under physiological control. Next, we observed variability of the fractal nature of trailing waves along with growing and aging for over 2,000 years by using every 200-year time series overlapping 5 years. This left side of this figure shows 3 examples of time series data of 200 years, and the right side shows each MEMS spectrum of the 3 power law behavior, showing as log power on log frequency scale. Solar activity and trailing waves we are interested in this correlation. The physician's records of sunspots are not long enough to look for cycles half a millennium in length. We can see solar activity by the observation of feelings by the effects of climate upon the growth of trees. Time series of trailing waves is shown on the top of this figure. Variability of the slope beta of the power law behavior is shown on the bottom of the figure, which shows episodic disruption of this fractal nature. 7 episodes shown as yellow arrow are depicted in this figure. The right 2 episodes are coincident with the Speller minimum and the Maunder minimum. Thus, the other 5 episodic disappearance of the fractal nature may suggest climate changes happen on globally. The other 5 episodes occurring around 100 BC, 500, 700, 820, and 880 AD may also correspond to climate changes that happen during times when no record on sunspots is available. Whether changes in the van der Waals structure of tree rings actually correspond to changes in solar activity or climate also should be scrutinized in auroral sightings or in other long records of reconstructed solar activity, such as those based on the beryllium concentration in polar ice. The third topic of my talk is ecological medicine in the field. Sleep. And I have several fields as a cardiologist or internal medicine medical doctor. I visited a Japanese town in Hokkaido, and I have a questionnaire. Do you sleep well every night? They answered no. One of fifth. Kaplan-Meier event probably curves for the incidence of vascular disease is shown here. It can be seen that subjects sleep well, have fewer adverse vascular events, that is, better event-free survival, follow-up for 5 years. Cox's proportional hazard model showed citizens with insomnia showed a significant association with the occurrence of vascular outcomes. Its relative risk is 3.12. One of the factors associated with insomnia is depressed mood, confirmed by visual analog scale on healthy mood, or visual analog scale on family relation, and questionnaire of depression scale. So depressed mood is very important. A depression score was obtained again in 1 to 2 years, and when the score had increased by more than 2 points compared to the first screening, such subjects were assigned to the enhanced depressed mood group. Enhanced depressed mood showed predictive value of adverse cardiovascular outcomes for 5 years follow-up, and relative risk is 2.18. I'd like to show another field work, field medicine in Ladakh. Ladakh is one of the most remote regions of India and lie embedded in the mountains of the Karakoram in the northwest, the Himalayas in the southwest, and the Trans-Himalayan at its core. Leh Ladakh is a strongly Buddhist district of East Kashmir, adjacent to Tibet, and lying at 3,524 meters above sea level between the Karakoram range and the Himalayas. Whereas physiological adaptation to high altitudes has been studied in resident populations of the Andes, Tibet, Nepal, North America, and Europe, much less is known about high altitudes natives in India. These are India, and Ladakh is here. Summer time is 27 degrees, but in winter it is very cold. Indus River is here. I'd like to show you sightseeing of Ladakh. We visit villages by this car in several temples. We visited like this. Together with the monks, I'm working. This is the team for visiting. Let's check. Very old monk is here. He is very healthy. Decrease in SpO2. SpO2 means the saturation of oxygen in artery. Decrease in SpO2 when we just arrived at Leh. Normal range is 95 to 98, but when just arrived in Leh, it shows 72, very low. And it's low in Delhi to Leh, and time course of SpO2 for 5 to 2 hours, it recovered in 2 to 3 days, and after then we start health check. Increased fluctuations SpO2 in Ladakh. This SpO2 time series of SpO2 in Tokyo, and we arrived just after in Ladakh there, SpO2 is low and fluctuate very much. In Tokyo, this correlation of SpO2 and heart rate in Tokyo and in Ladakh. In Tokyo, SpO2 is high and heart rate fluctuates along with activity. On the other hand, in Ladakh, SpO2 becomes very low and it is negative correlation with heart rate. So I have some health check we start, asking present history of illness. Within a medical consultation, many subjects visited us. Like this, there are many people visiting us. So we checked out several activities, total score and the course, and blood pressure monitoring. And lastly, I had a consultation of subject. An explanation of the result of healthology by my co-worker at Ladakh, because I can't speak Ladakhi. First, operation of cardiopulmonary functions along with altitude from 3,250 meters to 4,647 meters. The neurocardiopulmonary function, including the course block design test, the upper goal, the function of which and the potency was examined in Ladakhi subjects living at different altitudes from 3,000 to 5,000 meters. This slide shows average age of residents decrease with altitude. The average of SpO2 of the citizens decrease with altitude. So even though they live there since they was born, their saturation was very low in high altitude area. Diastolic blood pressure increase with altitudes, both men and women. However, this relation is not so clear in systolic blood pressure. I don't know why. Hemoglobin, which means the concentrations of the red blood cell, increase with altitude, so concentration is heavy. And height and weight and body mass index decreases with altitudes in both genders. This slide shows a correlation of saturation of oxygen and blood pressure and hemoglobin. At high altitude, SpO2 decreases, whereas hemoglobin and diastolic BP increases with altitude. Second, correlation of cardiopulmonary functions between Ladakh and Japan in Tosa town in Shikoku Island. In 40 elderly subjects in Leh, Ladakh, these are all of the elderly subjects because they do not show the longevity. For compared to the Tosa town, oxygen saturation, respiration rate at rest, and several cardiovascular variables, including blood pressure, heart rate, conventional ECG, and pulse wave velocity, which means the atherosclerotic level, was we measured. Up and go test we measured in seconds. The time it took the subject to stand up from the chair and go to the 3 meters and walk back to the chair and sit down again. This test is a simple measure of physical mobility and demonstrates the subject's balance, gait speed, and functional ability. Functional reach used to evaluate balance represents the maximum distance the subject can reach forward beyond arm's length, which maintain the fixed base of support in the standing position. And manual dexterity was assessed by using Botan score. The course block design test were used to assess the overall cognitive function, as shown on the right side of this slide. As a result, all blood pressure and heart rate measurements were statistically significant higher in Leh Ladakh than in Tosa, shown the red color is statistically significant. And change in heart rate from supine to the standing position were larger in Leh than in Tosa. And of course, respiration rate is larger in Leh compared to Tosa. Elderly subjects had a lower SpO2 and a higher respiration rate in Leh compared to Tosa, Japan. Next, I would introduce the difference of the blood pressure increase with age. Cross-sectional study, but it is interesting and I will introduce. Red circle shows the Ladakh. Green triangle shows the Japan, Hokkaido subjects. Increase with age, both of the citizens showed increase with age of blood pressure, but the slope is statistically different. This difference of slope, we consider several reasons. First, at higher altitude, atmospheric oxygen is lower, and hypoxemia stimulates sympathetic nerve activity, which is associated with an increase in blood pressure and heart rate. Second, Ladakh is a cold desert, and its environment temperature drops as low as -45 in winter. This factor will also stimulate sympathetic activity and increase blood pressure. Third, it has been reported that salt intake in Ladakh people is larger than in Japanese, which may result in an accelerated increase in systolic and diastolic blood pressure with age compared to Japanese people. Fourth, angiotensin converting enzyme ACE gene ID polymorphism is reported associated with high altitude disorders. It is also speculated that the polymorphism may be related to the larger increase in blood pressure with age observed here. Fifth, medical services are only now developing in Ghana, and citizens do not have sufficient access to medicines. Sixth, poverty in Ghana people is such that delivery of electric power is insufficient. Very few electric power. Lastly, cultural differences between Ladakh and Japan may also contribute to the difference in effect of aging and blood pressure. This slide shows relationship between SpO2 and blood pressure in citizens at high altitude. Citizens of the lower SpO2 increase higher systolic blood pressure, and citizens of the lower SpO2 showed larger pulse wave velocity, which means advanced atherosclerosis. In conclusion, adaptation to high altitudes was confirmed through investigation in Leh Ladakh. Diastolic blood pressure was higher, and increase in heart rate with postural change was higher in Leh than in Tosa. The present study also showed that the cognitive function and ADL functions were worse at high than low altitude. So, As a doctor, I'd like to recommend we have to take care age-associated index. For example, in high altitude area, we have to take care these indices, hypoxemia, blood pressure, orthostatic tachycardia, and so on. In conclusion, comprehensive cardiovascular assessment is needed to achieve better diagnosis for a more fruitful treatment. Specifically, the effect of different environmental factors such as weather, inside and outside temperatures, sunshine duration, geomagnetic latitude, and geographic altitude, the effect of lifestyle features such as body weight, salt intake, fruit and vegetable intake, alcohol consumption, smoking, physical activity, and duration of sleep, as well as depression and quality of life scores, and the effect of neurobehavioral functions needs to be assessed together with blood pressure change, including today, unfortunately, I can't introduce you. We usually measure blood pressure continuously, not only 24 hours, but also 7 days. The last topics, shortly I'd like to introduce chronoastrobiology. This is the present me and Professor Franz Harber in Vienna. It's a meeting place of chronoastrobiology. Chronoastrobiology is depending on philosophy of early organisms on Earth have developed and adapted oneself to the surrounding cycles on cosmos. When we had analyzed a data series and found a new periodicity, we have to search for a near match in the natural physical environment. As shown here, repeated ambulatory blood pressure monitoring for 7 days released a Monday morning surge in blood pressure in a community-brain population. Morning surge means abrupt increase in blood pressure in the morning compared to the night. Morning surge is usually we can observe as a physiological response, but please note the degree of morning rise in the morning is higher Monday and Tuesday compared to the Saturday and Sunday. This slide shows morning blood pressure average of 3 hours in the mornings, which also the similar pattern. So we can find out there is a 7-day rhythm around the cosmos. So Franz Harber found not equally 7 days, but around 7 days, 6.74 circa 7 periodicity in KP, geomagnetic activity. Any old or newly observed periodicity in physics should prompt the search for something equivalent in biology. 3 rings of sequoia is shown here. It seemed of interest to look for a proxy marker of solar activity in 3 ring widths that cover the past 2,000 years or more. We have analyzed 11 sequoias and have found a period 536 years are the most prominent feature, as shown here. Indirect proxy approximations of solar activity bears the effects of climate upon the growth of trees, a cycle with a period of 534 years is shown here. So we can have, our humans have such 500 rhythmicity. We can find, we have to search. As a result, Professor Harper found a similar cycle was found in the spectrum of international battles with a period of 499 years, as also found in human creative culture growth, as shown here. Maybe in precise explanation will be presented the day after tomorrow by Professor Harper, I think. So in conclusion, we have to try to do rehabilitation by using pronomes and chronomics. Recovery of ability is very difficult and cost is very high. So we have to check out who is easy to be diseased. It is very difficult, we can do it by using chronomics. So rehabilitation is very important. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. And we start the discussion. Are there any comments or questions to this talk? Please.
I just have a question. You know, every one of us knows such phenomena that during aging we have acceleration of time. Every next year it comes faster and faster than previous year. This is a lot of psychological explanations for that. But I never heard about any molecular or physiological explanation of this phenomenon. Is it some kind of explanation concerning chronomes, this effect? Thank you.
Thank you very much. A very difficult question. I don't know. But speed of time is not constant. In the morning, time passed very fast, very quick, and in the evening, it passed slow. So, as you say, feeling of the time speed is different between the young and elderly. But I don't know, maybe my teacher, Professor Harbers, can answer instead of me. Okay?
I think Dr. Otsuka just demonstrated that he is the teacher and I am the student. So I want to congratulate him, of course. I do not know the answer, it's a good question. But I can look it up because we have the data. We have a fellow who estimated 1 minute for the past 40 years. And his father started in his 60s and estimated, and did only blood pressure. So with the father, he can look only at blood pressure, but with the son, I can give you an answer if you give me your card. I give you both an answer. But thank you for a very nice presentation. I would like to make one comment now. Rehabilitation, instead of rehabilitation, is a play with words. But if you do invest into 7 days of monitoring, it can be the equivalent of vaccination. So here it is. It's your challenge in the States, in Japan in particular, and around the world. We have been taking blood pressure with a variable that brings about hundreds of millions of people being treated worldwide, and a number of them trading a risk greater than a high blood pressure for having a successful treatment of blood pressure. That's what Dr. Otsuka's presentation on rehabilitation was all about. Thank you, Kuniaki.
Thank you for your answer. I have a result in the town for the elderly subjects more than 75 years of age. I asked them to do time estimation tests. We asked them to estimate 60 seconds. And citizens answered, and we measured the time by stopwatches. When citizens answered 45 seconds, yes, 60 seconds passed. Such subjects have a good event-free, fewer event-free of outcome. However, when 75-second time and yes, 60-second, these subjects showed frequent cardiovascular events. So, your question is very important, but why, I don't know.
It wasn't clear whether your 500-year cycle that came out of your analysis was, well, it was related apparently to some solar cycle. You made this point, is that correct? It's related to some physical cycle of solar luminosity related then to climate?
Well, sorry, I can't understand.
I'll try again.
Yeah.
You
Maybe. Grant, please.
So I haven't answered my question yet, though. So I just sort of, the question is the 500-year cycle that came out of the analysis that we just saw, is that due to climate changes related to a solar cycle, or is it related to temperature changes, humidity changes, water? What does the 500-year mean?
It's a good question, and in this case there is a reasonably satisfactory answer. If you go to stalagmites and stalactites in their coloring, you can go back for quite a bit more than 500 years. So there you do find distinct temperature changes. So an association with climate change is beyond any question. The interesting point that Professor Otsuka, my teacher, made is this, that at the same time, the emergence of prominent historians, the emergence of prominent poets, the emergence of prominent physicians in China, in India, in the Greco-Roman culture, that had at the time no internet, no connection, was almost simultaneous, speaking of historical moments. So what else but the sun or the cosmos could have brought about the same emergence? So on the one hand, we found, just like circadian 60 years ago seemed to be there everywhere, we now, if we look at any one phenomenon and do have the data to look at them, and are cowardly enough to insist on inferential statistics, and we do, then we do find with a reasonably narrow confidence, in 95% confidence interval, what we call a phenomenon of congruence between the periodicities in stalagmite temperature, in war, international battles, and a number of phenomena that seem to be completely unfocused. And what appeared to be unfocused may indeed be focused if, as Krzyzewski put it, the sun is responsible. I wouldn't say, as he did, the sun is guilty. But actually, Kuniaki could have answered the question much better than I do, but he was polite and wanted to give an old fellow a chance to say a word edgewise. Thank you for your question.
Thank you very much. And any comments?
I like this question about the relationship between the circadian rhythm and the lifespan. But before coming to that, let me introduce the paradoxical observation that I learned recently from my friend who have long been engaged in the circadian study in insects. Okay? In some light active and dark inactive insect placed in the constant darkness, so the behavior rhythm, circadian rhythm, disappeared as expected. How do you think that the rhythm appeared constant active or constant inactive? Which do you suppose? The answer was constant active for 24 hours through many days. Okay. Then the lifespan of the insect was studied, and they had a longer lifespan. So it tells that periodicity is not a sufficient condition for the longer lifespan. So how do you think of this observation? I'd like to hear your opinion about this phenomenon.
Yes, thank you so much for very nice questions. All of the lives in Earth have a circadian rhythmicity. Human is a daily active animals. Its rerunning rhythm show 25 hours. On the other hand, in general, animals working during night time show the shorter circadian rhythmicity by 23 and 23.5 hours. So your suggestion is, thank you so much for your suggestion. So in subjects, especially patients, for example, suffering from myocardial infarction, in such subjects, in such patients, shift work is not so good for longevity. Okay? So subject with some disease have to take care to keep the 24-hour rhythm. 24 is very important, and if subjects are living not 24, but for example 25 hour, 28 hour, 14 light, 14 dark environment, such subjects have a shorter longevities. So,
do you have a concrete data about that?
My data, it is not my data, but there is a epidemiological data there is.
Well, in this case, I introduced it, do not have reasons, circadian reasons, not 25 or 23 or something like that. No reasons, but they constantly move for 24 hours, so it may require a lot of energy. But still, they live longer, so some kind of explanation may be that to keep the circadian rhythm may require much more energy than in a rhythmic state. How do you think of that?
Yes, it is right, I think so. However, there is many kinds of circadian rhythm, for example, protein synthesis or glycerol synthesis and so on. So it may be depending on the physiological pattern, different. But generally, I accept your question.
Please.
You mentioned about relationship between rhythm of nature and human beings. And how about you? And now we are eating together and getting up maybe simultaneously here. So how about your idea about relationship between human beings, rhythms of each human being? So coordination. So and now we are forced to share life rhythm.
We are eating not in the morning, but it is under the internal clock, I believe. So maybe internal clock and social work is interacting together. So maybe your question is...
I mean, my imagination is if in Tokyo, all person walk faster than rural cities. So such kind, my imagination is based on such kind of.
In any place we have circadian rhythmicity similarly, but when we analyze the circadian rhythm, we can have the data of average and circadian amplitude, level of fluctuations, and phase of the circadian rhythmicity. Maybe when the harder city like Tokyo, amplitude, circadian amplitude, fluctuation is larger than the rural cities. So there is a little difference between them, but generally it is similar. 日本語の方が分かりやすいです。
すみません。人の間で、人の間でたくさんなんかリズムの共有というか、シンクロが起こったりするようなことがあると思うんですけども、そう今このご説明だったら自然界と人間との関係を言われて、それはもう理解できる。社会生活で他のものとのリズムの共有。
Yes. When we keep the circadian rhythm, there is several factors for lighting and getting up and going to work, so social interactions and human talks together and so on. So it is one of the very important factors. So.
Okay. Before going next.
One more point may be pertinent. If you eat 2,000 calories sharp for breakfast versus dinner, chances are very high that you lose weight on breakfast and gain weight on dinner. If there is an exception, it will be still around the body weight loss at breakfast. So when you take your calories is quite important, and of course the calories take over when we come to starvation. Normally in an animal room, light darkness, or use social schedules take over, but as you start starving, the lighting becomes the feeding becomes the dominant synchronizer. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are you satisfied? And the next one is a final question. Please.
Since this symposium is the title is What is Life, I want to know why this all living species have this circadian rhythm, and what is the main benefit this brought us? I want to know your view.
Yes, in recent years, there are many scientific data that clock gene mutant animals have a hypertension, hyperlipidemia, increase in cholesterol, and metabolic syndrome, or has cancer, and so on. So we need circadian rhythm for the progress of what is life.
But cyanobacteria also has a circadian rhythm, so this mechanism is maybe more ancient than what we have now. So why this evolved through an evolution of life? Because as you said that this mechanism consumes many energy, and so it's energy consuming mechanism, but still many species possess this mechanism inside. So I want to know what is the benefit it's giving us.
We obtain the circadian mechanisms as a life on the earth, all of the earth, because without circadian rhythm, lives without circadian rhythm cannot be on the earth, I believe, including humans. Okay?
You can sleep at night. That's the main reason.
So you mean because of this 24-hour solar system on this planet is maybe the driving force of this mechanism?
Okay, yes.
Okay, thank you.